Hey everybody, it's Eddie Marathon. It is day 19 of ZENVEDA. 19 days in a row. Imagine that. Hey, listen, I'm a runner from Birmingham, Michigan, and I'm not far from Detroit. I'm in a suburb of Detroit, in fact, and a couple days ago I talked about the Dream Cruise because, here in the D, it is the home of the Motor City. This is pretty much the birthplace of the modern automobile. And we celebrate that here in the D with the Dream Cruise. But today is a different kind of day because throughout the country we're celebrating the National Aviation Day. Thanks in great part to our big salute to the Wright brothers. Yeah. And aviation is a huge part of my life. Growing up in the 60s, I was fascinated by the pioneers of aviation and flight, and of course, the race to the moon. And I was riveted to the television. 1969, when man first walked on the moon. It's incredible. I really felt like I was there. And as a young boy, I was just like mesmerized by the fact that we could each reach up to the stars and actually put a man on the moon. That was just awesome. It made a huge mark on me as a young boy. And I decided to pursue a career in aerospace, and I wanted to go in the space industry, but later on in college, I was going to interview for one of my dream jobs to work with NASA. And the day of my interview, it was in January, in fact, I was walking that very cold day. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And on the way to my interview, something happened that basically changed the course of my life. But I didn't know at the time until I got to the Career Resource Center. And there was a big commotion there, and the interview was canceled. It turned out, in the time it took for me to walk from my dorm to the Career Resource Center, the Space Shuttle Challenger had blown up. Very, very tragic. It was horrible. And, it completely changed the face of the space industry and aviation for a long, long time. And as a result, I did not go in the space industry, but instead, I left my home in Chicago and I went down and I worked in St. Louis. And I joined McDonnell Douglas, which is now part of Boeing. And I worked in the fighter aircraft industry. I did. And, I loved airplanes and figure fighter aircraft, pretty close to space and stuff. And I loved the aviation industry. It was my, first, true participation in, really a fascinating time with the aircraft industry. And I was actually very fortunate because I was selected as one of the youngest men to work on the first flight program for the F-15E. Yeah, and it was really cool. We had a deadline to get this bird up in the air, and it's the first time we ever had basically all digital flight controls for this particular bird, the F-15, and the E model rather was basically a fighter bomber. You'd fly in low, bomb its targets and fight its way back out, going high. So an air superiority kind of aircraft, and it was really exhilarating, to work through the nights and do everything as a young man and meet all these different kinds of senior fellows who were working on the airplane too. And I learned the ropes, and we got the bird up in the air in time. And I was one among many, many people working on that program, but I really felt like I myself was a pioneer as a young man. And so that was really cool. And in fact, years later, when I went on to run the Air Force Marathon and in Dayton, Ohio at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, sure enough, there's a commemoration there for, the program I was working on for the F-15E. And really proud. Hard to believe that some of my stuff is, I shouldn't say just my stuff, our stuff. I played like the teeny weeny little role in that. But nonetheless, it played a very, very big role in my heart. And it's kind of funny because when I got out of Notre Dame, but before I went to McDonnell Douglas, I visited the National Air and Space Museum. And I can remember touring the hall and looking around at all the different projects that, basically had preceded my time. And I thought, my gosh, can you imagine what these pioneers had done? And to think that, here at the what do you call it, the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, at least there was a program there that I had a small part in. So I was very proud. And of course, after running a marathon, you're really tired and you're beleaguered, but when you walk the halls to kind of walk it off, after the marathon, have you ever done one of those things, or after the marathon you walk it off, to be kind of, having that, great feeling of exhilaration that you ran the marathon and you're walking amongst all these great old birds and looking at all the rich history and soaking it all up. be pretty emotional. So National Aviation History Day, yeah, it means a lot to me. And in fact, I went on later over the last some 29 years or so, and I've worked on hundreds of different aircraft programs, and even founded my own company in 1997. I've done a lot with the aircraft industry, and feel good to at least make a contribution, no matter how small it is, to keep a man up in flight. And I've got some pretty exciting programs I'm working on, and in fact I've got a business in which we're making our own salute to the Wright brothers, you could say. I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more because we haven't lifted the curtain on this yet, so I'm just going to give you a teaser. But the good old Wright brothers had a hand in it. But in this particular case, we're going to be sharing some of those technologies that brought man to the heavens, and we're going to bring some of those technologies for some earthbound applications here. They're going to really make a meaningful difference in many people's lives. Very excited to show that someday in the future, okay, when I can talk about it. But the movie trailer isn't done yet, so you're going to just have to stay tuned. So here we are on National Aviation Day, and my salute to the pioneers, and also a reminder to us all that we ourselves, we are all pioneers. We choose to be. You know, it doesn't have to be the hugest thing, but we each play a role. And all those small parts, well, they do add up. And how fortunate we are to be living in these pioneering times. So to all the pioneers, my aviation brothers and sisters, wow, keep trying to tame the perilous skies. All the best, folks. This is Eddie Marathon. Go out and run your miles. Share your gifts with the world. We'll see you, folks.